Ethan stared through the window of the small shuttle as it broke through the clouds of Lasara. White and blue lights shimmered across the alien city below. This was the first human mission to Lasara in more than a decade, and Ethan felt both nervous and excited. He adjusted the collar of his navy blue suit and glanced at Olivia, who was sitting next to him, reading over the welcome speech one more time. "Relax, Ethan," Olivia said with a soft smile. She was always calm, even when the rest of the team was on edge. "We're here to talk, not to fight." "I know," Ethan replied. He tried to smile back. He wanted the mission to go well, but there was a strange heaviness in his chest, as if something important was about to happen. The ship landed smoothly and the doors slid open with a hiss. A Lasaran guide, tall and slim with silver skin, greeted them. The alien's voice was musical, and Ethan watched as Olivia shook the guide's hand without any fear. The rest of the team followed, stepping into the bright and clean landing hall. Guards in silver armor lined the entrance, but their faces were calm and respectful. A red carpet stretched toward a group of Lasaran officials. At the center stood Princess Ariel. She wore a long gown that shimmered with every color of the sky. Her silver blue eyes were cold and careful, and her hair fell in perfect waves over her shoulders. Ethan could feel her gaze before she even looked at him. He tried not to stare, but when she turned, her eyes met his. The moment their eyes met, something flickered in Ethan's mind. He felt a jolt, a memory almost surfacing, but it vanished before he could grab it. Ariel did not smile, but she nodded to him, her eyes lingering on his face for a moment longer than she gave to anyone else. Olivia nudged him as they walked forward. "Did you see that?" she whispered, grinning. "You've already caught?" The princess's attention. Ethan shrugged, but he was troubled. He didn't know why the princess's eyes felt so familiar. The team introduced themselves, and Olivia spoke for them all, her words clear and warm. Princess Ariel responded, her voice like wind through crystal. She welcomed the humans to Lysara, and everyone clapped politely. But Ethan noticed the princess kept glancing at him as if she was trying to remember something too. They were led into a large hall filled with Lysaran art. Sculptures of light and metal hung from the high ceiling. The air smelled of flowers he had never known. The Lysaran officials showed them the grand history wall, which told the story of how humans and Lysarans first met, then fought, and then made a shaky peace. The princess explained everything, her voice never rising above a gentle tone. After the ceremony, the humans were guided to their guest rooms. Ethan stood on his balcony, looking out over the glowing city. He thought about the princess's eyes. He remembered something from long ago, a pair of blue eyes, a laugh, a promise. But every time he tried to focus, the memory slipped away like smoke. That evening there was a formal dinner. The tables were long and decorated with strange flowers and glowing stones. Everyone was smiling and talking, but Ethan noticed Ariel watching him from across the room. She looked away quickly whenever he met her gaze. Later, Ethan and Olivia went for a walk in the garden. Alien trees with silver leaves glittered in the soft lights. Olivia laughed as she tried to pronounce the names of the flowers. Ethan was quiet, lost in thought. He felt as if he was on the edge of remembering something very important, something from his childhood, before they went inside. Ethan turned and saw Princess Ariel standing in the distance, her dress bright against the dark leaves. For a moment she looked sad. Then she noticed Ethan watching her, and she quickly disappeared down a path. Ethan could not sleep that night. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of the mission and the puzzle of the princess. He wondered if she was as troubled as he was. He closed his eyes, and in the darkness he saw flashes of blue light, heard laughter, and felt the ghost of a name he had not heard in years. The past was just out of reach, and he did not know yet that it was about to return. The next morning, the city of Lysara looked even brighter. Ethan stood at his window, looking at the strange shapes of the buildings and the soft blue lights that lit the streets below. He took a deep breath and tried to shake off the dreams he had during the night. They were full of shadows, laughter, and faces he could almost remember. He did not understand why the princess was in his dreams too. Soon Olivia knocked on his door. She was already dressed, her hair tied back. She smiled at him and handed him a small cup of Lasaran tea. The tea smelled sweet and tasted like nothing he had tried before. Ethan thanked her, but Olivia noticed his worried look. "You didn't sleep well?" she asked. Ethan shook his head. "I kept dreaming. I think it was about the princess. It's strange, but I feel like I know her from somewhere." Olivia smiled in a teasing way. "Maybe you met her in a past life? Or maybe you just made a strong first impression. Come on, let's go. The listeners want to show us their city." They joined the rest of the team in the entrance hall. Princess Ariel was waiting for them. She wore a simple silver dress today, and her hair was tied up. When she looked at Ethan, she almost smiled. For a moment, it seemed like she wanted to say something, but then she simply nodded. The Lasaran guide led the group outside. The city was even more beautiful up close. The buildings were tall and smooth, made of shining metal and glass. Everywhere, plants grew along the walls, flowers opening and closing as people walked by. The air was cool, but the sun was warm on Ethan's face. He saw children playing by a fountain. They were laughing and throwing shining stones into the water. It all felt peaceful, but there was still something tense under the surface. Guards stood at every corner, and Ethan could see that some people watched the humans with suspicion. The group walked through the city square, where Lasaran musicians played soft music. Princess Ariel explained some of the city's history. She pointed to a tall tower in the distance. "That is the old library. It has stories from both our worlds. Maybe you would like to see it later," she said, looking at Ethan. Olivia laughed and nudged Ethan. "She's offering you a private tour? Don't say no." Ethan smiled, a little embarrassed. He could not explain why he felt so nervous around the princess. Every time she looked at him, it was like a puzzle in his mind moved a little bit closer to the answer. They visited a market where Liserans sold bright cloth, sweet fruit, and small machines that floated in the air. Olivia tried one of the fruits and laughed when it changed color in her hand. Ethan bought a small carved stone from an old man at a stall. The man smiled kindly and pressed the stone into Ethan's palm as if he knew something important. After lunch, the group went to a high balcony that looked over the city. The view was wide and beautiful, stretching all the way to the purple hills in the distance. Princess Ariel stood next to Ethan, quiet for a moment. Finally, she spoke in a gentle voice. "Do you remember much of your childhood?" she asked. Ethan was surprised by the question. He shook his head. "Not really. I grew up on a colony. There was an attack, and I was taken away. Sometimes I remember a girl who was my friend, but the memories are not clear." Ariel was quiet, her eyes searching his face. She seemed to want to ask more, but then one of her advisors called her away. That afternoon, the group met with city leaders to discuss the peace mission. The talks were polite but slow. The Lasaran leaders wanted to make sure the humans would respect their ways. Some Lasarans did not trust humans, and Ethan felt the pressure every time someone asked a hard question. During a break, Olivia and Ethan walked in the hallway. Olivia was still cheerful, but Ethan was quiet. "Are you still thinking about the princess?" Olivia asked, smiling. "I just keep thinking I've seen her before," Ethan said. "I remember a girl with blue eyes. She called me something Finn, I think, but I don't remember more." Olivia looked surprised. "That's a nice name. Maybe it will come back to you. Sometimes the past returns when you least expect it." That evening there was a celebration in the city square. Lanterns floated in the air, and people danced. Princess Ariel joined the humans for a short time, standing beside Ethan again. She gave him a small smile, one that made him feel both happy and sad. For a moment, Ethan wanted to ask her about his memories, but he was afraid. Instead, he just watched the lights and wondered if the princess was as lost in thought as he was as the night grew dark. Ethan looked up at the stars above Lysara. He felt like something important was waiting just ahead, something he and the princess shared but could not yet remember. The next day began with quiet tension. The humans and Liserans were supposed to meet in the council hall. Ethan woke early. He looked at the city again from his window. Today the sky was gray and the air felt heavy. He tried to shake off the feeling, but something felt wrong. He met Olivia in the hall, and they joined the rest of their team for breakfast. At breakfast, the Lasaran food tasted strange but good. Olivia made a joke about the color of the eggs, and Ethan laughed. But even as he laughed, he saw Princess Ariel arrive with her guards. She walked slowly, as if she was worried about something. When she saw Ethan, she nodded but did not smile. He noticed that she looked tired too. After breakfast, the group walked together to the council hall. Tall trees grew in the courtyard outside. The wind moved through the leaves, making a soft sound. When they entered, guards checked every person and scanned every bag. Ethan saw more guards than before, and even Olivia noticed. "Something's different today," Olivia whispered. Inside the council hall, Lasaran leaders and human delegates sat around a big table. The talk started well, but soon some listeners began to argue about old battles. The room felt hot and crowded. Princess Ariel tried to calm everyone. She spoke quietly, asking both sides to remember why they had come. But the leaders would not stop. One human delegate stood up and shouted about respect. A Lasaran officer responded with anger. Ethan watched Ariel. She pressed her hands together. She looked as if she wanted to run away. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed from the entrance. The doors crashed open. Guards shouted and rushed forward. People screamed and ducked under the tables. Ethan jumped to his feet. Olivia pulled him down. "Stay low," she whispered. But Ethan saw Princess Ariel frozen in the middle of the room. He saw a group of masked figures run in, their weapons shining. They shouted in a language Ethan did not know. They pointed at the humans and the princess. The guards fought back, but two masked figures grabbed Ariel and tried to pull her away. Without thinking, Ethan ran toward the princess. Olivia called after him, but he did not stop. He tackled one of the masked attackers. The person fell, and Ethan pulled Ariel away from the others. They ran together, ducking behind the long table. People ran in every direction. Alarms sounded through the building. More masked people were fighting the guards. Ariel grabbed Ethan's arm. "This way," she shouted. She led him down a side hallway, her dress trailing behind her. The hallway was empty and quiet. They heard shouts and running feet behind them. Ariel pushed open a door, and they hurried through. They found themselves in a small garden, surrounded by tall walls. The plants glowed with soft light. It was quiet here, away from the noise and fighting. Ariel breathed hard, her face pale. Ethan leaned against the wall, his heart pounding. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Ariel looked at Ethan. Her voice shook. "Thank you for helping me." Ethan tried to smile. "I couldn't let them hurt you." Ariel nodded. She brushed a leaf from her dress. "You ran toward danger. Most people would not do that." Ethan looked at her and felt that strange feeling again, like he knew her from somewhere. He asked, "Why did they try to take you?" Ariel looked down. "Some people do not want peace. They want to start a war. They think I am weak because I talk to humans." Ethan was quiet. He looked at the glowing plants. "Do you ever feel like you're missing something important?" Ariel stared at him for a long time. Then she spoke in a soft voice. "Yes, all the time. I lost someone when I was young. He was my best friend. Sometimes I think about him, even now." Ethan nodded. "I lost someone too. I was just a boy. I remember a friend, but her face is blurry." Ariel stepped closer. "What do you remember?" Ethan closed his eyes. "We played together on a colony. There were big trees and lots of sand. We made promises. But there was an attack, and then everything was gone." Ariel's eyes filled with tears. She reached up and touched the silver pendant around her neck. Ethan saw the pendant, and something in his mind almost clicked. But before he could speak, voices echoed from the hallway. Guards called Ariel's name. She quickly wiped her eyes. "We should go back before they find us," she whispered. Ethan nodded. As they left the garden together, he felt as if a door to the past had started. To open, but not fully yet. After the attack, the council hall was quiet. Guards led everyone to safety, and the Lasaran officials checked that no one was missing. Ethan and Ariel returned to a small waiting room. Olivia found them there, and she looked worried but relieved. "Are you both all right?" Olivia asked. "We're okay," Ethan said, though his heart was still beating fast. He looked at Ariel. She seemed calm again, but her eyes were red. He wondered what she was thinking. More guards arrived and checked the room. When they left, Ariel turned to Ethan and Olivia. She spoke softly so no one else could hear. "There is something I need to tell you both," she said. "Please sit down." Ethan and Olivia sat on a small couch. Ariel sat across from them. She held her silver pendant in her hand and seemed to be searching for the right words. "When I was young," Ariel began, "I lived on a human colony. My family was hiding there. No one knew I was Lysaran. I used a different name. I had to be careful." Ethan listened, and his mind filled with questions. He remembered flashes of laughter and games from long ago. "There was a boy on the colony," Ariel continued. "He was my best friend. He called me Ellie. We did everything together. We played in the sand, built castles, and dreamed of exploring the stars. But one day, the colony was attacked. There was fire and noise. My family took me away, and I never saw him again." Ethan stared at her. His hands shook a little. He remembered a girl with bright blue eyes and a soft laugh. He remembered calling her Ellie and giving her a small silver shell as a gift. Suddenly his memories became clearer. "Was your hair always this color?" Ethan asked quietly. Ariel smiled. "No, my mother made me dye it to hide. It used to be brown, just like yours." Olivia looked between them, her eyes wide. "Ethan, do you remember her?" Ethan nodded. "I do, I remember now. We promised to be friends forever. I called you Ellie because you liked the sound, and you always wore that pendant." Ariel opened her hand and showed them the silver pendant. It was shaped like a small star. Ethan touched it gently. The memories returned, days spent laughing, making promises, and dreaming about the future. Ariel's voice was soft. "I kept it all these years. I never forgot you, even when everything changed." Ethan felt tears in his eyes. He wanted to say something, but he could only smile. The feeling of something missing was gone. He looked at Ariel and saw the same little girl he knew long ago. Olivia smiled too. "It's like fate brought you together again," Ariel nodded. "Maybe it did." She looked at Ethan. "When I saw you on the first day, I thought I was dreaming. I could not believe it was really you. I was afraid to ask, but today when you saved me, I knew. Only my best friend would do that." Ethan felt a deep warmth in his heart. He had always wondered what happened to his childhood friend. Now she was right in front of him, and she was a princess. He laughed a little. "I can't believe you're really Ellie." Ariel smiled, wiping away a tear. "I am. I always will be." For a while, the three of them sat in silence. The noise of the city faded away. It felt as if time had stopped, and only their small group existed. Ethan felt hope for the first time in years. He looked at Olivia and Ariel and knew he would never let them down. Soon the Lysaran advisors returned. They needed Ariel to meet with the leaders again. She stood and took a deep breath. Before she left, she squeezed Ethan's hand. "We will talk more tonight," she promised. After she was gone, Olivia looked at Ethan and smiled. "You found her. After all this time, you found your friend." Ethan nodded, feeling peace in his heart. "I won't lose her again." That evening, the city was calm again. Lanterns floated in the air, and the stars shone above. Ethan sat on the balcony, watching the lights. He thought about all the years he had wondered about his lost friend. Now he knew the truth. He could not wait to see what would happen next. He knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Ethan and Ariel shared the recordings with the council. Some leaders were still unsure, but many were moved by the truth. That night, Ariel and Ethan walked in the palace garden. Ariel called Ethan by his old name, Finn. It made Ethan remember their childhood even more clearly. They talked about their dreams, their fears, and what peace could mean for both their worlds. As the stars shone above, Ariel took Ethan's hand and whispered that she believed they could end the fighting together. Ethan promised he would stay by her side. The next day, the council resumed talks, and though danger remained, There was new hope in every word spoken. Ariel stood at the window of her room, looking out over the quiet city. Lights flickered gently below. The night was calm, but her heart was not. The council meeting had ended, and a new vote was coming. But there were whispers of danger still. Some people did not want peace. They wanted war, revenge, and fear. She knew the path ahead would not be easy. Ethan waited for her at the edge of the garden. He looked up as she stepped outside. The stars were still shining above them, just like the night before. He smiled when he saw her, and she smiled back, but they both knew something had changed. There was more pressure now. More eyes were watching. And the threat had grown. "I heard from Olivia," Ethan said as they walked slowly between the trees. There was a message intercepted. A new attack might be coming. Ariel nodded. "My guards told me the same. A group is hiding in the old district. They don't want me to continue the talks. They don't want peace. Then we'll stop them," Ethan said. His voice was calm but firm. Ariel looked at him. "Why are you so sure?" "Because we remember who we are," he said. "You're the girl who gave me a place to hide when I was scared. And I'm the boy who promised to protect you." "We didn't forget that." She felt tears in her eyes but didn't let them fall. "You're still the same, Finn," he smiled softly. "And you're still Ellie." They walked deeper into the garden, past the walls, and into the hidden paths only the royal family used. Ariel stopped at a small gate and opened it. Behind it was a dark tunnel entrance, covered with vines and stone. "What's this?" Ethan asked. "A way in and out?" "Of the palace," Ariel said. "Built long ago, before I was born. Only a few know about it." He looked at her. "You want to go in?" She nodded. "If the group is hiding in the old district, this is the fastest way. They won't expect us. I know the tunnels. I used to explore them when I was a child." Ethan paused. "Are you sure it's safe?" "No," she said. "But I'm going anyway." He followed without hesitation. The tunnel was narrow and dark, but Ariel walked with steady steps. Ethan kept close behind. The walls were cool and damp. Sometimes they heard small noises, dripping water, distant wind, maybe small animals. They moved carefully, their voices low. After some time they reached a door. Ariel touched a stone near it, and the door opened with a quiet click. On the other side was a quiet street in the old district. It looked empty, but both of them felt the tension. "This way," Ariel whispered. They moved between buildings, staying in the shadows. Then they heard voices. A group of Lysaran fighters stood near a fire, speaking in low tones. Ethan and Ariel hid behind a broken wall. "They're planning to attack the council building," Ethan said, listening. Ariel frowned. "We need proof. We can't stop them without it." Ethan took a small recording device from his pocket. "We'll get it." They waited silently, recording every word. The leader of the group spoke with anger. He blamed the humans for everything, and said Ariel had betrayed her people. He planned to strike the palace within hours. Ariel's hands shook, but she held still. When they had enough proof, she and Ethan slipped away through the alley and back into the tunnel. They returned to the palace as the sun began to rise. Tired but determined, they met Olivia and shared everything. Guards moved quickly to capture the hidden fighters. Thanks to the tunnel, no one knew how Ariel and Ethan got the proof. By midday, the news spread. The council learned of the planned attack. Many were shocked. Some who doubted Ariel now stood behind her. The peace talks restarted that evening, with stronger voices calling for unity. That night, Ariel and Ethan sat together in the garden again. The stars. The morning light was soft and warm as the palace woke. The city outside buzzed with hope. The news of the failed attack had spread quickly, and the people felt a new chance for peace. The council met again in the grand hall, where voices that had once shouted for war now spoke carefully of peace. Ethan sat beside Ariel. He could feel her hand gently squeeze his. They both knew this was the moment they had worked toward. The leaders from different worlds were watching, waiting. Ariel stood to speak. Her voice was calm and strong. "We cannot let fear and hate rule us. We have seen what it brings. We must choose peace. We must build a future together. The room grew silent. Then, one by one, voices rose in agreement. The treaty was signed. Smiles and tears filled the room. A new chapter was beginning. Outside, crowds gathered. People from both worlds cheered. Children ran and played, dreaming of a better tomorrow. Ethan looked at Ariel and saw the princess. She was meant to be not just a leader, but a bridge between two peoples. Later, as the sun began to set, Ariel and Ethan walked in the quiet palace garden. The stars appeared again, twinkling softly. She stopped and looked deeply into his eyes. "Finn," she whispered, using the name only she had called him as a child. "I never forgot you." Ethan smiled, his heart full. "And I never forgot you, Ellie." They stood close, hands joined. Around them the world was changing, but their bond was strong. Together they would face whatever came next. The future was uncertain, but with trust and friendship it was bright.